Hey guys, this is Pennywise from Gamer Fusion, and today I'm going to be making a video to go along with lesson 3 of the tutorials that are posted on the website. So today I'll be introducing the different preset data types that you can use in C++, as well as introducing type defining and the use of arrays and what they are and how they work. So for the different data types in C++ that are readily available, that are built into the program, you have ints, you have doubles, you have floats, and you also have chars, you have shorts, you have longs, and you have bools. So a bool is just a true or false statement. That's all it is. And I'll show you guys how to use that later on. As for a float and a double, just take note that they can use decimal numbers and nothing else can. And a char is just a character, so it'll store one letter or one symbol. So it'll store any of that. So just for fun, why don't we go ahead and grab the size of a couple of those. And this should be the same as on your computer as it is on mine. It's not like in memory when we get to pointers and dereferencing, referencing memory addresses and stuff of that nature. Those addresses will differ from my computer, but for now everything should be the same. So let's go ahead and grab the size of an int. So I'm just going to put out cout int here, and you'll be using the size of operator, which is just like this. And then you put in what you want to grab the size of here. You can grab the size of classes, of structures, of any of these data types. Pretty sure there's a lot more you can grab the size of, but I haven't tried, so I don't know. But we're grabbing the size of an int here, so size of int. And since these are measured in bytes, why don't we just add bytes to the end so we know what unit of measurement we're using. And of course, let's end that line so it goes to a new line. Let's grab the size of a double. And let's grab the size of a char. So let's go ahead and run this. And an int is 4 bytes, a double is 8 bytes, and a char is 1 byte. The bool also holds the same amount of value as a char does. So just to throw that in there. And to give you guys a sense of how big this actually is, 1 gigabyte is equivalent to 1024 megabytes. 1 megabyte is equivalent to 1024 kilobytes. And 1 kilobyte is equivalent to 1024 bytes. So that's how small this is. So it's really, really tiny. It hardly takes up any space in memory. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. You won't need it anymore. And now we'll be doing type defining. And what we'll be doing is we'll be using this to grab the area of a rectangle. But all type defining does is it takes something really long and it'll change it into something really short. So the usage of type defining goes like this. You type in type def, and that lets the compiler know that you're defining something. So whatever follows is going to be abbreviated by whatever's next. So we'll be using an unsigned short int, and unsigned just increases the range that the int can go through. Short makes it a little larger, and int, of course, is the data type. So you can say unsigned bool, unsigned, or no, you can't say unsigned bool, sorry. You can say unsigned double, unsigned float, so it'll work for that. And let's just call it ushort. So that's how you define a type-defined word. And let's make a ushort named area. So this is just telling the compiler that area is of type ushort, and ushort is an unsigned short int. So if you look up here, it'll pop up with my IntelliSense. It says type def unsigned short, and it knows that it's an int, so you don't have to worry about that. So before we go any further, let's initialize it to 0 so that you don't get any compiler errors. It's generally a good practice to initialize all your variables just to make sure that your program doesn't point to some bad space in memory or something like that. Why don't we go ahead and make an int called length and initialize that to 0 as well, and another int called width and initialize that to 0 as well. So now you have area, length, and width, and I'm also going to be introducing the cin function of the input stream. So this will let the program grab user input, and it works like this. So type in cin and you put in your stream insertion operators, which are a greater than symbol, followed consecutively, one after another. And I'll show you how to use it in just a second, but for now let's see out and have a message saying please enter in the length. So and then end that with a semicolon, and now for the user input. So you have cin, here's your stream insertion operator, and you want them to input the length. So you just type in length and you end it with a semicolon, and you'll see how this works when I can run the program. But for now, just take note that you're beginning to use cin and how it's used. And let's see out another thing for the width. And remember to put out a new line, otherwise it'll show up after what the user inputs, and it will look pretty ugly, so you don't want to do that. So please enter in the width, and then let's grab the width. So now you have the length and the width, and the users input them. So let's go ahead and assign the area to what it should be. So area is going to equal the length times the width. And I always put my equations inside parentheses so it doesn't get confused with what I'm talking about, or the order of operations doesn't get all mixed up, because in the way a computer will do a math problem is it'll do it in one pass from the left to the right. So it doesn't exactly see to the second power or do exponents first or anything of that nature. So I always try to put everything in parentheses and make it clear to the computer so it knows what it's doing. But anyway, let's assign this to length times the width. So that's what area is going to equal. And now let's just see out all three. So first we'll see out the length. Then we'll go to new line. We'll see out the width. And now let's see out the area. And let's add a new line to make it neat. There we go. So go ahead and compile and run this. And it prompts me to enter in the length, so let's do 5 for the length, and let's make the width 20. So the length is 5, the width is 10, and the area is 50. So that's how type defining works, even though it was used very little. It can come in handy sometimes. So now let's give you guys a basic introduction of arrays. So an array is just, it's like a table inside the computer. When we get into multidimensional arrays, it'll look more like an actual a chart. For now, it'll just look like a a two-column table, I suppose. So what you want to do is you want to have an int, let's call it myArray. And arrays use these brackets. And you say how large you want your array to be inside those. So let's make an array of 5 values. And now the tricky thing about arrays is that it'll start with 5 values, except when you want to access it, it starts at a 0 and only goes to 4. So an array of 5 covers units 0 to 4. An array of 20 covers units 0 through 19. It's still giving you 20, but they all start at a 0. So we have an array called myArray, and we'll be using a for loop to assign values to that array. So let's just say for int I equals 0, I less than 5, because the array size is 5, I gets increased by 1. And then you add in your brackets for your for loop. So now what you're going to want to do is say my array of I equals count. So up here really quickly, since I didn't do this before, why don't we just go ahead and make an int called count and initialize that to 1. So it'll assign 1 to count, and then at the end of that, after it's done that, let's make count increase by 1 as well. And once it finishes that, it'll say, okay, here's your array. This is the values that you asked me to print. So I store those values inside it, and it'll assign 1 through 6 inside that array, if my math's right. So now let's go ahead and print out the values of the array. So you're going to need another for loop for that. Let's make an int j equals 0. J less than 5. J gets increased by 1. And for outputting, you just say cout my array j. And then you just end the line. And it'll output all the data from the position in the array of where it is now. So go ahead and compile and run it. So it assigned it values 1 through 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it wasn't 6, but my math was off just by a little bit. But it assigned the array values 1 through 5, and the elements in the array were values 0 through 4. So let's just close that real quick, and at the end of it, I'll cout the element in the array that is 0. So cout my array, and this is used to say which element in the array you want to extract from. So we want 0. So cout my array 0, and let's end the line. And in there you will see the value of 1 get printed twice in the console window. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. And that's element 0, which is right here. Element 4 of the array is 5. So that's a basic introduction to arrays, the different data types that are readily available in C++, and also an introduction on type defining. So I hope this tutorial helped you guys out. Comment, subscribe, and definitely stop by the forums. Register. Like I said, we're always trying to build a community there. So, yeah. Thanks for watching.